And it begins.
Thank you so much, Julie. That's excellent. We have 4 with us today, and possibly some might join us at the top of the hour. But this is our it's our September meeting for the Online Alliance. And we're really lucky to have 3 speeches today all about pathways. And I'm going to introduce each of those in a moment. But to keep us honest with our time today, Assyl, could you explain what you'll use for timing, please?
Hello, my name is Assyl. I'm your timer for today's meeting, and I'll be timing your speech. This green device will be shown, signal will be shown when you reach the minimum time. This will be between minimum and maximum time, and this will be when you reach maximum time. For example, if your speech like from 5 to 7 minutes, so green will be shown on 5 minutes. This cute Pokemon will be shown on 6 minutes, and this red will be shown on 7 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Assyl.
Postmaster.
I think I'm going to aspire to reach Pokemon standard in my timing so I can see that device more frequently today. So thank you so much for stepping up and showing us those timing devices. We have other helpers here today. Michelle has just joined us and she's going to be our table topics master. And she has no video today, but a beautiful picture of Michelle is showing. And it looks like she's near the Eiffel Tower. So she will have a few questions for us after the speeches. We're here today really because Julie said she was starting a new project for her distinguished Toastmaster. And I'd like to introduce her now to let us know what is this thing called Pathways StorySwap Online. Now, as you know, Julie is a pioneer in Pathways and has completed many paths, not just in English, but in French. And she has been blogging about her experiences for some time. She's reached the stage now where she would like to do her Distinguished Toastmaster project after completing at least 2 paths. And today's speech from Julie will be Pathways StorySwap. And this is 5 to 7 minutes, Assyl. So let me welcome Julie Kertesz, storyteller for Pathways StorySwap Online.
Welcome to the first ever Pathway StorySwap Online. My intention, of course, is to make such events happen a lot. First of all, in October, I will organize some of the first one in a club, in different open environments, and then I hope all the clubs and all the districts will organize theirs. Why? First of all, I looked for something I am really passionate about. And I really have the passion for storytelling. That is why I created a storytelling club online also. I have also had for the last 18 months, in fact now 20, a passion for Pathway. Yes, user interface is not what I hoped for, but it will improve. But the program made me grow. Anyway, and I would like to convey the problems we had with it, and we had all some problems, and the joys we had with it, and how all of us changed through the Pathway education program, finally. I did. And it is not the 5 paths which I finished and the 3 paths I now am doing. It is mostly through the people I met. And I met so wonderful people. Let's just say about Assyl, who I met not long time ago, and who is in my team also, who designed that wonderful ad about Pathways StorySwap online, and Paul, who gave the StorySwap title. It was storytelling before, but StorySwap speaks better. And Carole, who embraced so many things I did from last year, when she made me explain and show Basecamp to guides when I was not yet pathway guide, and gave me courage, and Zaldy, who helped so many people to begin pathway alone. And when I was at the beginning icebreaker only, and I didn't know how to go out from the prison. I couldn't close my project. From Toronto, a white knight in shining armor came to my rescue, and Matthew Kalinowski just went to my computer and showed me how to close and how to answer to all before and after assessments. And from then on, I met many wonderful people. And as I say, the titles like proficient in visionary communication come and go. But the people I met remain. And the people I met through pathway are the one who count. The last time I finished everything I needed, I was coach and sponsor and whatever you want, but I did not know what to do with my DTM project. And then I told it, I don't know who will be in my team. I don't know how to lead in my speech at Firebirds Collective. And Fabiola came to my rescue. We Zoomed together after the meeting, and like a very good mentor, she asked me questions and pushed me until finally I decided, yes, I am going now, I am doing it, I am combining my passions, and I am organizing festivals. In my leadership development, the second path, which I liked very much, I organized happenings. I organized together with Paul storytelling events. And so now I try to do it again. Because the project tell I have to help an organization, I didn't like at all. Those ads which are on Toastmaster International, which seems like pushing. Everything is always wonderful, but everything is not wonderful. We still have long way to go. But if we recognize the problems, then we can be really authentic and believable. And that is what I hope to do with pathway storytelling and story swaps to tell authentic, real stories that each of us can relate to. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Julie, for starting us off today and for explaining the Pathways Story Swap project. We love hearing your stories. And there are a few others of us here today who are going to tell their stories too. And we've just been joined by our first guest, Val from Chimit. Hi, Val. Feel free to chip in for table topics later. Michelle will be doing those. But right now, hi, Val. But right now, I'd like to introduce our second speaker for the day, Zaldy from the Philippines. Now, Zaldy is an absolute master of technology. Before the meeting today, he was showing us all the wonderful gadgets that he has for his virtual club meetings, speakers, microphones, cameras, you name it, he's got it. But he's also a master of pathways and has his own story to tell. And today, Zaldy is going to speak for 5 to 7 minutes, and the title of his speech is Count Your Blessings and Make Your Blessings Count. Please welcome Zaldy.
It was back in July 2017 when I woke up in the middle of the night crying. I was wondering what made me deserve the treatment I was getting from a fellow Toastmaster. It's bordering a long harassment already, and her last strike was getting me off as a pathways guide for District 75. It happened when I applied to be a pathways guide here in the Philippines, and I sent my application to the chief pathways guide, and she told me the application is already closed. We had it a year ago. And I was wondering, it was up your alley and why you did not apply. And I told her, nobody told me about the application. And she said, didn't your division director tell you? I said, no. And I also checked with the club presidents of our area, and they said they never received a notice from the division director. So then came August 2017. George Marshall offered to deliver his level 4 webinar speech project at my club, one of my clubs. And I haven't had any successful testing of remote attendance in my club. And here is George wanting to deliver at my club, and I had to say yes. So these are my equipment. This is the mic. This is my webcam. This is my other webcam, which is a cell phone. The speaker, my internet connection, and the projector. So you will see why I had wanted to go with a fully online club rather than a hybrid club, because of the complications in setting up equipment. But then George pushed through with his webinar, and it went smoothly. And it gave me the confidence to conduct online attendance, though setting up was really a chore. We were among the early we had among the early launches of Pathways in the Toastmasters universe, as we had Pathways launch around July 25, 2017. And I foresee that I could get members via online attendance or via a pre-charter online club. They can sign up with my brick and mortar club and attend the fully online club. And I advertise, and Julie referred the first member. If I remember correctly, it was Sudhamani from UK, and she referred several more. Okay, and there were totally around 14 all in all. Then came Mathilde. Mathilde did not want to attend the fully online meeting on a Friday, and she wanted to attend the hybrid meeting that was on a Wednesday. So I was forced to set up the online attendance for the club. And for the first few meetings, I could not take on any role like a speaker or an evaluator because this setting up this equipment was quite a chore. So having all these members, I also had to provide support. So I had my virtual support sessions with several of these members. And I remember some of them had to wake me up around 5 a.m., 6 a.m. just to get help. And they wanted it immediately. I'll tell you who later. And then now that at that time I understood why the online clubs were approved a year before Pathways was launched. The online clubs were a precursor to this Pathways so that support can be provided. So, and I was glad to have experience doing online clubs two ways, fully online and by hybrid means, and also become part of the District U Pathways, the elite team of District U Pathways guides. And then, so this is indeed a blessing to gain all this knowledge. And right now, as I said in my title, make these blessings count. And right now, we often hear giving back to Toastmasters. Well, I've been giving ever since, so maybe it's time for me to get back something from Toastmasters to make full use of these blessings. And I'll be doing, I own the domain name Communications PH, and I plan to do a webinar business and work on a full spectrum of communications courses. And as to my, my adversary who was harassing me, well, I just thought of it. It's a badge of honor to be harassed. So I just take it as is. So, back to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you, Zaldy. You certainly have been through the battles. You are a warrior indeed. And I'm sure that many are grateful that you took the challenge, certainly in getting set up with all of that equipment. My hat's off to you for leading the way on that. The next speaker today is myself. So I'll just introduce what I have to say, and then I'll just give you this sign, Assyl, when I'm actually in the speech, so you know when to start the timing. I started with my pathways last year when I became a guide for District 73 and District 70. And for me, it has been quite a journey. And today I want to tell you a little bit about that journey in the form of a hero. Today, my speech from 5 to 7 is called The Hero's Journey. I'm sure you know all about heroes, but did you know that not every hero comes with a cape? In the hero's journey, you know that we move from the ordinary world into a special world, and then you come back to an ordinary world that's changed forever. And as you've just heard from Zaldy, I think that's what he experienced. His ordinary world now has changed forever, and he's got the badge to prove it. Along the way in any hero's journey, you'll have a call to action, you'll meet with your mentor, you'll have lots of hurdles and things to jump over, and you'll face ordeals. Well, this was true for me in being a Pathways guide. But I learned too that at the end of that process, I grew just that little bit more. When I first became a guide, now this is going back to September last year, 2017, I wanted to do the best I could possibly do to become the best Pathways guide. I was being a guide for 2 districts, one on one side of the border and one on the other. And I first looked at the tasks in the curriculum for all the Pathways guide, and I was, oh my gosh, 18 tasks to do. 18? First I had to read the Pathways Guide handbook. Well, that was okay. I'd expected that. That's my learner guide. Then I had to read the Navigator itself. That was all right. And then I looked again, another 16 tasks. This just did not sit right with me at all. How was I going to learn how to be a guide when I had to do all of this reading online? There wasn't anything practical here. I didn't have anyone to practice with at this stage. This is before Pathways became available to my 2 districts. And it was a bit of a conundrum for me because I'm used to being an online learner, but I wasn't learning. I needed more. The next step for all the guides was to introduce the concept of base camp to many others. And all the guides had to go out and visit their clubs. So I visited Val and her team in Tumut and my other clubs in the other side of the border. And I was like this because I didn't have the full facts. I really could not see behind the door. It was locked. Remember, this is September through to December. We hadn't had the great rollout, or should I say the great cop-out. It was just all foreign. So I was nonplussed. What am I going to do? I'm a coach, for goodness sake. I'm supposed to know everything. I'm supposed to be able to answer all their questions. And yet the door was still locked. Goodness, that caused me such a lot of angst. But I had to ride through that. I knew that the rollout was coming in December. I had to bide my time, and I had to learn as much as I possibly could in order to pass it on to all the clubs I was visiting, 8 of them. Eventually, there was a breakthrough. I knew what was needed. If I couldn't see behind the base camp door, I'll find someone who can. And you've just heard from both Julie and Zaldy about how that happened. It was Julie that I called on because she had been the pioneer. So I thought, revelation. Now I've got someone I can call on who knows what's behind the secret door. So she became my knight in shining armour. I called on her to show me, what did you do in your base camp? How do you move between the projects? How do you even get in through the first door? And Julie was there to guide my way. And she had learned that by investing her time and going to other clubs where Pathways was already rolled out. Now, this helped me enormously, and it's what we all do. We learn from others who've been there before. That's the whole idea behind being a hero. So now I could look at my own path. As I went through from December through to June of this year, I completed a whole path. I was so pleased with myself. I had to do 14 speeches and I could fit that in because I was a member of several clubs. But I was thirsty for knowledge. Like Julie, I wanted to get in there, find out what you had to do it, reflect on it, and then show others. So I was pleased that I'd had those hurdles to jump over because it made me tougher. It made me think, but wait, there was another hurdle. How am I going to influence others? Is it going to be me pushing them? Well, that wasn't working too well because at the time of the rollout in my districts, it was December. We were going off on summer holidays. No one else was really interested. So that became another little hurdle that we could jump through. They weren't going to be interested in any badges that I could offer them. That just wasn't going to cut the mustard for them. I had to think of other ways. So another hurdle was presented that I had to jump over. So in going through this journey, I was growing, and I knew that eventually we would come out the other side of this journey and we would be A, more knowledgeable, and B, more proficient in being able to show others. So I persevered and I found some friends. Those clubs that Zaldy was talking about that needed guidance in District U, they were all screaming out for online pathways guides. Here's just a few of them at the latest convention. Now, I had the great pleasure of leading people like Julie, Zaldy, Michelle, and others in this project where we could be the guides and the heroes for the online and other undistricted clubs. So here I am at the end of my journey and I've got my badges to prove it. Well, almost. I've finished one path, almost finished another, and partway through my third. So I know that when you start on a journey that has many hurdles, ups and downs, that you need guides, you need heroes. This is my way. This is my story. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Madam Toastmaster, there is another speaker now who is ready to speak, Michelle.
Wow, thank you so much for that. Would you like to introduce Michelle if you know more than I do about this? Anyway, I do know Michelle, and Michelle is going to be our table topics master, but are you also giving a speech, Michelle?
Well, I noticed that there seems to be a one spare slot for a speaker. So
there is, yeah.
And I thought,
okay.
Oh, it was only for Julie. So the speech title is Leading from Beyond.
Ah, okay. Well, thank you so much for jumping in. So this is 5 to 7 minutes?
Yes.
Okay. With great pleasure, I introduce Michelle for our fourth speech for today. And take it away, Michelle.
Thank you, Carole, and thank you, Julie. I first heard about pathways, oh gosh, 2013, when I was serving, or I was running for LGM. For the new ones like Assyl, LGM was Lieutenant Governor Marketing, and that was the previous title for currently what is known as Club Growth Director. Although, since you're a member of an online club, maybe both terms don't even mean anything to you. Anyway, it was a district leadership role, and we were told that there would be, actually, it wasn't pathways, it was the revitalized education program. And so, of course, I raised my hand and said, yes, you're looking for an ambassador, I will be an ambassador. And at first I was told, well, you're also going to be Lieutenant Governor Marketing. That's going to be a very heavy role. I was thinking, not really, because I need to know what this is about if I'm going to serve effectively as district officer. And so indeed, I was appointed ambassador, and then nothing happened. And I turned to our chief ambassador, who I expected would know a little bit more than I did. But yes, she knew just a little bit more. Actually, maybe just that much more. And so from 2013, 14, 15, I was closing on my term as district director. And then, oh, we heard the revitalized education program is now pathways. Well, that sounded exciting, but still there wasn't much information. So again, I turned to our chief ambassador, and again she said, Michelle, really, you probably know maybe more than I do because you're now district director, and she was past district governor. So this was not a good feeling. And for those who've already talked, Julie, Carole, Zaldy, if you're supposed to be leading, then you're supposed to know what it is you're leading about. And then I heard these two, Julie and Brian, another very active Pathways pioneer, they were talking about they were going to go over to the club in District 27. They were talking about great communicators and DTM masters. And I was like, oh, what are they doing? Oh, apparently you can do that. So I started looking. First, I contacted District 57, all the clubs that had online attendance, but none of them responded. So I tried District 27, the second pilot district. And immediately I got a response from MBC, Easy Speak, or Speak Easy, Making Better Consultants Speak Easy, long title, but MBC. And so I attended their meeting on Monday. This was Monday, May 1st last year. And our spring conference would be Saturday of that same week, May 6th. So I attended the meeting, and then while I was still on the meeting, I started typing in my application form. Right after the meeting, I sent it with my credit card information and said, please sign me up. And good for him, past District Governor Ralph Jones, who was the Vice President of Education at the time, immediately signed me up. So I got my glimpse of Pathways. I got in, I spent all the rest of the afternoon going around base camp, looking at stuff, and I felt, yay, I know better. I'm the only person in the district who knows. And for the next 5 days, I studied it. I created some screenshots. And so on the spring conference that Saturday, I was the only member of District 7 who had actually been on base camp. And of course, I shared the secret that you can access base camp by joining a club that has Pathways. And they were, of course, wondering, how can you do that? And I said, there's the online attendance option. And true enough, people started getting excited. Kate Arnold, John Rodkey, James Wands, there were several individuals in the district who got excited. And then the funny thing that happened is I had led the pack from beyond, because this was from another district, not my own district, not even my other district, District 75. District 27 was totally new. I led from beyond. But then when I saw that people were getting excited, I was thinking, well, now they're fine. I can go back to my traditional program. So I did
No.
my icebreaker. And
I know I'm probably way late, but I only just found
second
out about
project.
the.
But after that, I just went right back to my traditional program, completed my other projects until I woke up one morning and I realized, wait a minute, they're already ahead of me. I'm not leading from beyond, I'm leading from behind, and maybe I'm not even leading at all. I just fell behind. And again, it was Julie who was saying, well, you need to go on, you need to try. And well, to be honest, level 1 was kind of boring. But anyway, I completed level 1 and then I got into level 2 and I realized, oh, level 2 is kind of fun. There's, you know, the talking about the mentorship experience. I like that. And so then I started leading forward again. I was one of the first to get the district's AAA, and I was trying to find my AAA badge, but I couldn't find it. Anyway, those of you who are members of the forum have probably seen it. I posted it there. And it is it's continuing experience where, because I am also working in the traditional manuals, there are times when my focus, like this past several weeks, have been on the traditional manuals because I aim to complete by October another DTM for the traditional program, because my DTM in Pathways is about ready and I want to submit both at the same time. So it's a very fun experience. And I think with Pathways, the key word is just go forward, just be proactive, just be positive, just have fun, which also shows in our Pathways forum, which the latest I checked is 7,200 something and still growing. So this is the experience that I have with Pathways, and it's a continuing experience. The next chapter is still to come. Back to you, Madame Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Awesome story. Leading from beyond or from behind, you do both very well. And thank you for stepping into our fourth available speaker slot today. And just before we hand over to Julie again, I just wanted to welcome Jeannie for joining us today. I had to mute you because Michelle was in full flight.
I wanted just to tell that Jenny is ready to speak also about Pathway.
Please unmute yourself and tell us if that's true.
Pathways.
Yes, are you going to do a speech for us?
I haven't really got a story. I'm not prepared. I have been at a meeting all in Rotorua today. I was at, what was I at this morning? I was at something this morning. Anyway, the whole, I was at the committee meeting for the Firebirds, which is the pre-meeting to the next meeting tomorrow. So I'm sort of, don't know where I'm at. Sorry, I haven't even put my on. I just found the email and I thought, oh, with the daylight saving going, maybe it's still on. So I'll just click in and say hello. But no, I don't really. I love Julie's blog about pathways and I'm trying to get through to my head. And I'm on level 2 of 2 paths and I don't even quite know how I got there, but I am quite enjoying the experience. So that's enough. That's enough from me. There's too much noise going on in the background and I will just mute myself again. So that's okay.
I really appreciate you coming in. I think even that short story of being at level 2 on 2 paths is worthy. You may get another opportunity because Michelle has some table topics for us. Perhaps you will be able to use that time. So at this point in time, I want to say thank you to the 4 speakers and to invite Michelle to let us know if she is going to give us her table topics now, and will you be doing it with video or without?
Well, absolutely. What I'm trying to do is, you see, the funny thing is one does not trigger the other. So I have my video on, but the audio from here is better. So is this okay with you? I'm talking, but it's the other one that's actually talking.
Now this is much clearer what you're doing now. Well done.
Yes,
so
I
over
should
to
have
you,
done
Madam
this. I
Table
should have
Topics
done this
Master.
with the speech because the audio from the iPhone is not too good. So we are going to have some table topics, and since we are all Toastmasters, I can see Val is a Vice President for Education, so we are all Toastmasters. No need to explain why we have, now I'm getting cross-eyed. Okay, there, I need to look at this one, otherwise I'm looking there. Okay, so the questions or the topics are all related to pathways. The first one is, well, I would accept a volunteer, although I would prefer the volunteer would be somebody who didn't speak. So share with us your most memorable experience with pathways. It could be memorable in a positive sense, or it could be memorable in a not very good sense, but memorable. So share with us your most memorable experience. And let me see if I can see somebody unmuting herself. And she's smiling, so she's going to mute herself soon. If not, I will just call on Jenny.
Well, you did say positive or negative. I have had some pretty negative experiences with pathways in that I go into the website and I think, yes, I know exactly what I'm doing. And I click on things and it just keeps coming up with all these different learning things, you know, the what do they call them? My mind's going complete blank because I'm way over. But you know, those learning things where they go through that if you do this, you do that, and blah blah blah. And I don't want that. I want to know what my next level is. I want to know where I'm going from here, and I just find it completely mind-boggling. But I have discovered that if I pop up that little window at the bottom, which has a list of what you're going to do next, and you do that, it works. But sometimes you can't see that little box because unless you make your screen big, it sort of disappears down the edges. And if you're not in the right mindset, you forget that you found it there last time, and you think, where has it gone? Panic, panic, panic. So, you know, I have had lots of these moments when I've gone, oh, I hate this pathways. It's just stupid. I don't want to do it anymore. But then I find where I'm going, and then I do another speech, and it gets ticked off, and I'm happy. So, you know, it's a love-hate relationship I have with pathways. When I go and read one of Julie's blogs, and I think, well, yeah, she did this and she did that, and maybe it will work for me. Maybe it will. So but I still am very disappointed. I would like them to have kept the CC manual for absolute beginners, because I think the CC manual takes people through all the little stages of doing a speech, and we found with our new members that they really do like that. In fact, we have one who has specifically asked, and I had a spare manual, so I've given it to her, and she is working through that before she even looks at pathways, because she wants to know how to give a speech before she starts doing all this other stuff. That's enough for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think you would have been ready to tell a 5 to 7 minute story, apparently, with that as your base experience. So we have heard an unforgettable or a memorable negative experience. I would like to hear from, well, again, because I want to focus on those who have not given speeches. Val, would you care to answer a table topics question? Yes. Okay. So you can either respond to that same question, or my other question would be, share with us your experience wherein you helped someone on pathways and it just felt so good for you. So you can either answer the same question that Jenny answered earlier, or this second one, which is share with us an experience that where you helped someone on pathways and you just felt so good.
Okay. I have helped, I think, almost all of our members, but one in particular, an older lady who has struggled using her computer. I ended up at every meeting, at every time that she's ever been anywhere talking about pathways, she throws her hands in the air and waves them about and says it's impossible and it's difficult and she can't do it and it's stupid, and she has a whole vocabulary to use that she uses to describe pathways, and says she goes round and round and round in circles. And I finally was going near her place. She lives over 100 kilometres from our club. She travels a lot. But I was over there and I spent 2 hours with her at her house with her internet on her computer, and we discovered exactly what the problem was. And it's something that I believe is an inherent problem with pathways, in that when you click on your path, it opens in this new window, which is Cornerstone On Demand, and 9 times out of 10 it opens behind your window that you're looking at, and unless you know to go and find it, you can't see it. So that many times you keep clicking on it and it keeps opening in another window, but you never find it. And so this particular day I showed our member how to find it, to minimize the window she's looking at and then find the other window behind it, and her whole world opened up like a big vista of dawning. However, that was 3 weeks ago, so whether she has now, and she's been on holidays, so whether the next time I meet her she has remembered how to find the transcript and the projects, I don't know. But at least I can now say to her, please minimise your window, find the window that's behind it, and then you'll be right.
Wow.
So thank you, Madam Toastmaster, Table Topics
Thank
Master.
you. Thank you. That was a wonderful story of helping people or helping someone. I love that. And that could have been a 5 to 7 minute story as well, where you would have the dialogue of all of this litany of complaints against pathways. Wonderful. Assyl, have you started on pathways? Have you started?
Hi, Michelle. Yes, I just started my pathway on motivational strategies, and
awesome.
I did my first icebreaker.
Okay, wonderful. So, Assyl, for the benefit of the others, I think almost everybody knows Assyl, but for Jenny, maybe, and Val, Assyl is a charter member of the newest, youngest 100% online club, Witty Birds. So, Assyl, tell us about your experience making that shift, because initially you might have started on traditional. I'm not sure how Svetlana got you your charter member started, but share with us your experience of the transition into pathways, and I will time for you, so don't worry.
Okay. My first experience was with Mortal and Brick. You say that, you know, when you go physically to the clubs. So I did that old program with manuals, everything. And 2 years ago, I visited Witty Storytellers. I think it was some problem, with technical problem, so I couldn't hear, and I stopped coming to check online clubs. Then not recently, a few months ago, like in March, Svetlana wrote an email to me if I could join the Witty Birds Toastmasters. So I said, okay, I will give a try. So now we're finally chartered, and little by little I heard about pathways, but I've never seen how it looked like. And finally we chartered, and now I have an access to pathway, and I think it looks amazing. I know that it will take some time to learn everything, but I like that it was like computerized, and you can see your progress, you can see everything. I know that old program it's much easier, but this kind of you can have it on your desktop. So with the help of you and all Toastmasters being around me now, so I think I will get through. I will get used to that, and I will be experiencing a wonderful journey with Pathway. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And let me see, have we had everyone the
There's
opportunity?
time for more, Michelle, if you've got another question.
Yes, I do have, and I am checking. We have everybody else, Jenny. So I guess we're now open season for our speakers, because everybody else who had not had the opportunity has had the chance. So my next question is, if you could change something about Pathways, either about Pathways with the system or with the implementation or anything about Pathways, tell us, what would you change? And with that, yes, I was kind of guessing. Yes, go ahead, Carole.
I'm saying, pick me, pick me.
I'm sorry, should I time as well for 2
Yes.
minutes?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
1 to 2 minutes, green on 1.
Thank you, Table Topics Master Michelle. I have been working on just that during the week, where I put together a list of now 13 things that I would change. And some of those things that have been spoken about today are featured on that list. These are ways I think we could improve the way Basecamp works. Pathways program itself has lots of content, lots of good things happening there, and it's based on sound educational principles. But it's Basecamp that lets us down. The technology needs to be easier. So one of the first things that I would change is, first, don't expect everyone to go in immediately and choose their path. Give them a free taste. Sure, there's one already there, the icebreaker. I say, give everyone level 1. Then they go through those 4 projects. They've got more of an idea of what it's like, and then they can choose their path. So for me, that would be the first thing to change. I haven't got time in the 2 minutes today to give you the rest of the 12, but believe me, we are going to put forward these improvements to the World Headquarters prior to our final Pathways Guides webinars next week, in the hope that they will hear us loudly, because we have been guides, we've been helping others, and we know all the pain points along the way, and we would hope that they could make those simple changes. Now, there's one that someone brought up in a sarcastic way, and that was, well, let's just throw out Cornerstone on demand. That's the real pain, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think we've got to work with that and find solutions to go around it. So for me, the first thing to do, in summary, is to give everybody access to a whole level before they choose a path. Back to you, Table Topics Master.
Thank you. I knew that there were going to be 2 people, definitely. And if Brian were here, there would be definitely 3 people who would have answers to that. So the same question this time for Julie. Same question. If you could change anything in Pathways, what would it be and why?
I have a blog which I began in May last year, and I can look at the statistics. And I can tell you that 45% of the Toastmasters who come to read my blog come through their smartphone, but they cannot use Pathway in smartphone. And those are most people from Far East. They don't have money to have a computer, but they have a smartphone. So my one and first, if I had only one, would be to make it possible to look and to use it pathways through smartphone. There are many others, like small things that appear only when you hover in the place and you don't know where it is. But those are small things that are easy to change. In my opinion, it is not so difficult to, if a blogger, Google blogger can automatically do in my blog, that you can see it in a big computer or you can see it in a small device, then pathway should be able to be offered also to everyone, not only those who have a lot of money to buy computers, but also those who have only a small thing with it. And for me, that is the most important point of view, which we should try to convey. Pathway should be for everyone. And the second point, if I may, is when you need something, give it them where they need it. Because we have wonderful tutorials, but they are not there when we need. The tutorials tell you how to open a window big, how to put in a tab, how to finish a project, how to finish a level, tutorial for everything, but they don't come when we need them.
I knew I opened a Pandora's box with that question. Do we have time for one final respondent? Because I would like Zaldy to answer.
Absolutely, go ahead, Michelle.
Zaldy, the same question. If you could change one thing, just one thing, so we stay within time, what would you change about pathways and why?
First, there's only one thing that has to be changed, and it is the user interface. There is a book about user interface, and the title is Don't Make Me Think. So as an IT professional, I can navigate through because I have to think. But for the rest who are not that IT savvy, the interface should be made in such a way that they don't really have to think. And one thing I didn't like about that, there are some redundant parts there that lead you nowhere. And just like what Carole said, throw away Cornerstone on demand. Yes. Or the other approach would be to revise Cornerstone on demand. I have been writing software almost all my life, almost all my working life, and the user interface had always been simple, and people have been able to do things without thinking. And maybe I should apply for a job at Cornerstone. Back to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I thoroughly enjoyed everyone's responses to the questions. We now have just a few minutes to the hour, so let me return control back to our Toastmaster. Welcome back, Carole.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Zaldy, you had me laughing out loud there. I think that is a priceless piece of advice. Don't make me think. Love that. And I'm going off to find the book. Thank you so much for those searching questions, Michelle. They were really on the nose, not on the nose, on the button. And I have to wrap up the meeting now. So I would like to thank everybody who has participated. So I'm going to change back to gallery view so I can see everybody. And for our speakers today, we began with Julie, who gave us the information about Pathways StorySwap. Thank you for that. There will be more of those. And if you're not sure when, Julie will tell you on her blog or in an email. Second, we had Zaldy talking about how he has made the best use of technology to help his club use a virtual member or a virtual visitor to his club. And then I spoke about my journey as a Pathways guide, and I actually learned from that process. I took some of the images that I had put on my blog and I put them together in that set of slides that I showed you today. But I've gone one step further. I've recorded that as a 3-minute tutorial and I've posted it to YouTube, and I thought it might make something different. And I'm a bit slow in the uptake, but that could be something that I can hand over to Graham from the Witty Storytellers, whose project it was to ask us to create small video tutorials. I would also like to thank Assyl for her timing today. You've done a wonderful job. I especially love Mr. Pokemon as the interval there. This is being recorded, so if you miss some of it, you will be able to go back and look at that. Thank you, Michelle, for doing the table topics today and for stepping in as our 4th speaker today to tell us your story of Pathways. And a big shout out to Val, who only knew about this meeting this morning when we were having our mentoring session, and she has very graciously popped in today and shared her own story in table topics. And Jeannie and Val, your table topic stories were priceless. They tell us the real pain points, and you said it with such passion. People need to hear that. We've come to the end of the hour, and I will now ask Julie to close the recording. But just before we do, can we just do our familiar waving, which is like clapping without noise? And then Julie, you might like to take a snapshot. Thank you, everybody.